Hey, what is up everybody? I'm Piglet here once again, and I'm back for some more of yet again for the likes of the Maxi Toys videos. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to more of Let's Play of Yoshi's Crafted World for the Nintendo Switch. So, last time we have managed to explore through, well, I would say by the forms of Sunshine Station, and to top it off, we also managed to able to explore for the Octopus Docks, and today, for this episode, is the fact that we're going to be hit on to the next portion of this entire giant world, which appears to be Go-Go Land. And yes, before we continue things on, let me just double check of some of those smiley flowers I've recently managed to got through. So we've got 8 so far in Sunshine Station, and also, I would classify for saying 17 of those smiley flowers in the Octopus Docks, but we'll still gather some more until whenever we get to the forms of the later portion of this Let's Play in general. So yeah, let's get to it with Go-Go Land, which I would say this is more accurately the third world in this game. And here we go on to the first level on that world, which is Poochie's sorry for a little bit of attention for this point, folks, but Poochie's Tape Trail, which either way, basically in this level is the fact that we might actually come across into a lot of tapes all over the place, and then every time you walk by them, then it'll automatically get created a path for you, you know, just like we normally saw from the opening intro cutscene or something like that. So yeah, that's how it goes basically. So yeah, not much else I can really say about this for this point today, apart from the fact that today's day is the forms of the 6th of February today. Sadly, for this point and onwards, there are still no luck of the forms of Nintendo Directs at this point. Well, at least we're hoping that it would happen next week, but if it does, then I would love to able to actually discuss upon new topics and stuff like that, including, Defi has now managed to get onto the forms of his, you know, the redo Let's Play, or the actual Let's Play of Super Monkey Ball Step and Roll, so even then know that he could able to also discuss on that if eventually it will happen. So yeah, this is like 2019 all over again, which is sad to tell you for this point, but regardless of everything else though, we're playing a different game or anything like that, so either way though, things does make me feel a little bit smile for my liking, including with the forms of the actual art style and stuff like that. However though, I can't say the same thing with the actual soundtrack as a result. I mean, sure, some of the music can be pretty cool to listen to at some point, but I just found it kind of a little bit generic for my taste with the actual soundtrack department. It's probably the actual the weakest part of the game for me, which, unlike any forms of Yoshi's Woolly World, that I found that most of the songs, or the most of the music in Yoshi's Woolly World, is simply superb, due to the forms of how the fact that with some very cool choices with some of those level themes and all that stuff. Well, at least they tried to desperately want to create some of the coolest music in the world, but unfortunately though, I can't seem to remember all these things, so, but the only ones I do remember is of course the overworld theme that's constantly going to be playing through. Every time whenever we get into some sort of a typical grassy, gardeny filled kind of levels or something. So that's my kind of theory anyway. And also regards to the returning of those roulette blocks, which either way it behaves exactly like how it did in most of the Mario Party games, specifically Mario Party 7, Mario Party 8, and stuff like that, except the fact that you can either just utilize the egg tossing, or you can able to actually just jump. So either way, there's not much else I can usually just comment on that stuff. So but you know, you get the drill for this point right there, so either way though, there's actually an exciting thing that most people seem to already know about this at this point, is that yes, the Wonderful 101, or in this case, as far as the actual, the later release of the game is going to call it now, you know, the Wonderful 101 Remastered is eventually happening, and yes, it's definitely true, and it's about to due out on not only for the Nintendo Switch, but also during the forms of, I would say, the PlayStation 4 and Steam. So, it's about time actually to able to actually re-release the actual game, which usually it has been, despite the fact that in the the original, the Wonderful 101, only came out on the Wii U back in the forms of 2013, but now in the forms of 2020, we finally get our chance to able to get ourselves our remastered version of the game at long last. Well, at least most people seem to really want to go for the Switch version anyway, well, usually because of how the fact that they can able to play it on the go. And also not to mention is the fact that with the PlayStation 4 version in mind, that way you can able to, I would hope that that game will able to actually get ourselves some trophies and stuff like that. Mind you, I'm probably not going to get it on day one per se, because I might actually get distracted by the forms of other games to able to actually just to play through, including the forms of this game in particular. So yeah, you most likely get the idea for that point. So yeah, speaking of which actually, it's the fact that this is the third new Let's Play for 2020 at this point in time, folks, because despite with, you know, both of those games that we need to able to redo, which we've already technically done Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Winter Games, and now Daffy is going to be doing Super Monkey Ball Step and Roll by himself, so naturally that usually counts as 2 redo Let's Plays for the time, and this is the third new type of Let's Play we're going to be going through, so yeah, you probably get the idea for that. So anyways, let's go ahead and activate that. Oh, this is going to be pretty tricky, because sometimes you need to knock over these cardboard inserts, and also we need to carefully try to grab the blue coins as much as we carefully can. And looks like I'm about to run out of time, so... Oh, so close! I was literally so close to able to actually get that blue coin, but then as a result, I just ended up getting myself a smiley flower, but unfortunately for me, I seemed able to not make it in time. But then again though, if I'm missing some of those collectibles, I can just show you guys how to able to exactly get them. Specifically the smiley flowers, and also same applies for those red coins in general. As far as health goes, as far as like trying to keep yourself alive with all these health in mind, it's actually pretty easy though to able to keep your health alive, unlike the forms of how it does it in Yoshi's Woolly World sometimes. Well, mind you, because of how the fact that you have to deal with the forms of boss battles at the very end, specifically in every single stage 4s and stage 8s and stuff like that, but not so much in this game this time around, so either way. And also, much like the forms of Yoshi's Woolly World, there is no life system, so either way, well, there is still a bit of a health system as far as you already notice at this point, but ultimately though, that you don't necessarily get a game over and stuff like that, so either way, that it plays exactly like how it did in Yoshi's Woolly World for sure. You know, it's kind of like the same thing for how it does it in Wario Land 2 as well as Wario Land 3, that both of those games doesn't seem to have the game over screens and stuff like that until, you know, Wario Land 4 came around, as well as, well, at least in Wario Land 3, spoiler warning for those who have not played the game yet, the final boss does give you an opportunity to get game over and stuff like that, so at least that might be the only time you come across to that, but either way though, we'll talk more about it when eventually we'll do the Wario Land series of games and stuff like that in the future, so... Oh yes, we have the returning Poochie right here, ever since the forms of Yoshi's Woolly World, and heck, even with the previous Yoshi games as a result. Just like the forms of Yoshi's Woolly World is the fact that you can able to ride it with him, and also, get this, is the fact that yes, much like Yoshi's Woolly World, if you guide Poochie into the forms of that smiley flower, he'll able to actually grab it for you, and then when he returns back to you, then you can able to have that particular smiley flower for good. So... yeah, I feel like it's kind of like the same thing for all things considered, but except the fact that with a different visual style and stuff like that, so... yeah, it seems promising enough and stuff like that, so, I suppose another thing I'd like to discuss upon for this point is the fact that you remember any forms of, the E3 2017 portion of this game, specifically it just only calls it just Yoshi, probably because of how the fact that they need to work so hard on the actual visual standpoints and stuff like that. Probably due to about the fact that they need to work hard on the actual, well, I'm sure many people already know about this because that's the reason why this game came out in 2019 as opposed to 2018, so... but I digress. Let's go ahead and aim the actual egg from that smiley flower, because yes, much like the previous Yoshi games, I'm pretty sure they might be doing the same thing for these woolly balls in Yoshi's Woolly World, is that yes, you will still retain some smiley flowers, assuming if you're trying to toss the actual projectile at certain points. So naturally speaking, it's all good and then things considered. So anyways, let's try to grab these the rest of these blue coins here. So yeah, relatively speaking, when it comes to the forms of today's topic at this point, also, about the fact of the matter is though, let me just go ahead and see if there's anything in here. I don't think there's anything in here, sadly, but oh well though, bigger cells can't be choosers, I suppose, so we'll just continue things on for this point right there, after we're able to bump into that specific, I would say a candy floss or something like that. I really don't know. But then again, though, that this might be actually be... Well, I don't know, suppose if you guys may actually notice this, but either way, though, this might actually be the semi-blind playthrough. Well, at least for a small extent. But whenever I get the usage of the forms of the actual level layouts like this, I should able to actually get used to it, especially noticeable without becoming, like, blind or anything like that, so... Alright, so let's see. I would do for the actual coin roulette block, but either way though, I need to get some more Yoshi's eggs for the time, which, thankfully though, this spewing flower seems the case, so either way though, we'll just have to figure out the clever way to able to navigate for this. Yeah, I do know the end of the level's just right there, so either then, because yeah, you can definitely see those two stars that actually represents the actual end of a level. Now, unlike the forms of how it does it on Yoshi's Woolly World this time around, is the fact that there aren't any bonus games this time around, because naturally speaking, due to the forms of how the fact that, well, you will still able to retain those coins as currency, but however though, unlike the forms of those collectible beads in Yoshi's Woolly World, you can able to actually grab it continuously depending on what levels you're in. So this time around though, you're essentially trying to grab those coins depending on what level you're in. So even though it's not just the entire game. So, and speaking of which actually, is the fact that this particular victory animation on this result screen is actually a lot more different compared to the forms of how it does it on the forms of the E3 2017 version, because in E3 2017 version's tech demo or something like that, or the demonstration I should say, Yoshi managed to able to walk around in almost like a 180 degree walk, and then as a result, oh, hello, oh, okay, that's pretty interesting. So in this case, we actually come across into those Pudgy Pups and stuff like that, but what can we do exactly? No matter what though, let's go ahead and find them. Oh, wait a minute, we're going for the exact same level, aren't we, but in a backwards fashion. So, yeah, what makes it so cool about this game? Actually, let me just go ahead and leave the actual world map as it is, and we'll demonstrate that on the forms of the first stage to begin with, because otherwise though, now you probably noticed right from the start though, is the fact that I accidentally managed to ignore switching between those different colored Yoshis. However, what we're gonna do for this particular change of update is the fact that I like to do 2 videos between different colored Yoshis, I feel like, because either way, that makes it a little bit helpful, and, well, I don't know if I've truly saying that right, because either way, though, we'll discuss more on that later. So, anyways, now since we can able to still manage to play through the front side of the actual stage, mainly with the forms of that, you know, just a simple exploration kind of thing, now you can able to actually unlock the methods to able to find those Pudgy Pups. And differently from the likes of the normal flip side, or in this case the actual normal front side, compared to the forms of, as you can see, the actual environment is actually in a different perspective, which this case we have ourselves a flip side mode, where, unlike the forms of E3 2017 counterparts, where you're able to actually just to classify for able to, assuming if your players in co-op, basically you could able to actually just flip the actual, the adjustable angle with the forms of that ground pound technique at the same time. But in here, basically that can be summed up as like 2 separate parts, like in a 2 separate modes to able to explore through. Like in the front view or the front side is basically just a simple, easy exploration kind of levels and stuff like that. And as for the flip side, it's always have to be by the forms of fighting every single of those Poochie Pups. And yes, I say Poochie Pups because these Poochie Pups does make a return in the forms of how it does on the 3DS version of Yoshi's Woolly World, or simply known as Poochie and Yoshi's Woolly World. Well, usually they're now back in full force, except, well, they are here there for the actual sake of collectibles. But that doesn't end off here. Not only do you able to actually get yourselves 3 smiley flowers, depending on how many of those Poochie Pups you found, but depending on the actual time you give in, as you can see, we did manage to beat this for about 1 minute and 19 seconds, and even 45 milliseconds. You also get yourselves a special 4th smiley flower, because as you can see, we need to bring those 3 to the goal within a certain amount of time. So either way, we'll figure we'll do that on occasional side of things though, but hopefully that'll be the case when it comes to the actual the Let's Play of this game itself, which, yeah, this game does have a lot of replayability, so as a result, let's head back in this level again, because as you can tell, now we're going to be showing you guys the forms of the actual side quests to go through. So even then, the first objective, specifically in Rail Yard Run, basically we need to take down the forms of 5 cows, and again, you have to be pretty much skillful when it comes to the forms of trying to aim the eggs on that specific 2.5 perspective and stuff like that. So naturally speaking, it kind of feels like a similar thing for how it does it in Klonoa Daunted Phantomile, except, well, in Klonoa, they only have to utilize the wind bullet. And then in here, well, basically it's how to able to aim the eggs to the forms of that different parts of the actual background or foreground, which, either way though, it might feel exactly similar, except, well, it plays like a Yoshi game, so... But except the fact that there's no Baby Mario to be seen around here, so either way, this also counts if you try to deal with these side quests, as you can see right there. Basically, you can also still manage to collect some of those smiley flowers if depends if you're able to continue for this tradition. So, anyway, so there's the last cow we need to knock down, and when you've done so already, you can have an option between keep playing the actual stage, or you can just simply leave the level, like I just did right there. So naturally speaking, there's not much else to discuss upon for that specific matter, so I figure I might as well able to just leave that particular stage as it is. So, and then when you're done with that specific task, you automatically run into the forms of, you know, the Carl, as you can see, and then that way he'll give you a smiley flower as is. So even then, and otherwise though, if you really want to gather even more smiley flowers, this means you have to deal with a lot of side quests, or in this case, souvenir hunts, as far as I like to say. So even then, we need to replay this stage again, but this time around though, on the flip side, the front side I should say again, except now we need to able to find a closed lane. So either way, now when we find a closed lane, then we can immediately leave the level and then, well, just do it from here. Of course, I've seen this level loads of times. Well, at least if I did manage to did this off screen, so I could able to grab the majority of the coins, which, if you can see, if you manage to grab the insane amount of those, you know, with the smiley flowers and everything, you can also get yourselves a whole bunch of coins as well, assuming if you're trying to deal with that method. So, but I digress. So let's go ahead and aim that particular Yoshi egg onto that specific hidden cloud and stuff, or in this case a question mark cloud. So hopefully we can able to get just a bit. So you can also grab the insane amount of coins with that particular golden present, as you can see, as well as for that well hidden red coin and stuff like that. Well, I don't know how I truly explain this point right now, just because, well, I know that it has been quite a while since I actually know about this game, because, well, I might actually get a lot of usage on it for this point, well, especially noticeable with the actual, again, with the actual uploading schedule daily stuff system, because either way though, that's just how we can do it. So anyways, we now found a closed lane, so now we can able to essentially leave the level automatically. So even then, no, unless assuming if the game will offer us a option to able to choose between these two options here. So I can at least able to do that. So now we're gonna be hit on back into here, and hopefully we'll get ourselves, you know, the next smiley flower. I think you have to do it multiple times in each level, so even then, thankfully though, until whenever we get to the later portion of the game, that we'll explain more on that later. So now, since we're done with that, now let's move on to the paper aeroplane that we need to find. Thankfully there's only one of them we can find, so naturally speaking, we need to play for the stage within the flip side, so that's how it goes basically when it comes to that stimulations and stuff. So now we just need to hop on back onto the train and then just, well, continue exploring from that point right there. I know some Let's Players seem to able to fast forward for these particular segments like this because I think these particular segments will generally waste you for about, I don't know, 20 seconds or somewhat lesser than that. I'm pretty sure it's more accurately 17 seconds on that specific section, or to be more accurate, 20 seconds to be exact. So I can definitely see why that most Let's Players seem to able to utilize with the fast forward editor and stuff like that to be able to keep our speed going for certain parts of the actual game, because some people seem to complain about the forms of the actual difficulty in this game, especially noticeable with the forms of the music itself, like I mentioned earlier. But another aspect of this, though, is the fact that what makes this game doesn't feel nearly as, well, I wouldn't say it's not that perfect by any means. It's still good, from what I can tell. But most people complain about the forms of the actual collectible system, which, as far as I'm aware, it also plays out exactly, kind of reminds me of Shadow the Hedgehog for mission structure, as far as I would say. But thankfully though, unlike Shadow the Hedgehog's mission structure, you don't have to at least play the level 10 flipping times in order to actually just progress to the last story segment. But still, it comes across as like, well, a little bit more of a fetch quest heavy more than anything. So, yeah, that's as far as I can usually say about this. And of course, as you can see, this is the final time we're going to be revisiting this level, because now we need to find all 5 of those milk bottles. So either way, whilst the new forms of E3 2017's demonstration video back in the forms of 2017, the milk bottles was there, but it always shows by the forms of the demonstration of how the egg tossing system works. So that might be far from the case for that specific point, so yeah, you probably get the idea. So I suppose another thing I'd like to say about the forms of what happens on the amiibo system in this game, well, unlike the forms of Yoshi's Woolly World version of that specific amiibo system, basically you get yourselves some very cool costumes based off from Yoshi's themselves. Like you get a Mario Yoshi, as well as Sonic the Hedgehog Yoshi, and also Pac-Man Yoshi, and even Mega Man Yoshi, and Kirby Yoshi, and etc, etc. Well, despite on the Wii U version, it doesn't allow you to utilize the Pokemon amiibos. I have no idea why they're able to go for that option. Whilst the forms of how it does it, I don't know if it's possible on the 3DS version of that specific port, but then again, I haven't really played that much of the 3DS version, assuming if I need to find myself most of the enemies on the gallery, and also the music gallery, and also the final few sketch patches and stuff like that, including the forms of, well, no damage during the actual runs themselves. So, but I digress. So either way, yeah, because in this game in particular, well, you're still able to actually access to costumes in this game. However though, costumes are representing with the forms of only Mario-based amiibos they can only scan through. So either then, this is likely due to the forms of how the fact that I have no idea why they don't seem to able to utilize amiibo system anymore in certain recent Nintendo Switch games, like you know, Super Mario Maker 2 doesn't have the amiibo system now, and as well as Luigi's Mansion 3, and heck, even with the forms of Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games Tokyo 2020, and also same applies for certain other games too, like if I can assume correctly, actually, to be honest with you guys, there's not much else I can discuss upon actually, so either way, yeah, that's as far as I can usually noticing that. Anyway folks, we did manage to finish it up with the forms of Sunshine Station, if you can clearly tell. Because yes, if you manage to able to gather every single of those smiley flowers, what happens is the fact that, assuming if you're able to accomplish everything, like the actual main levels, especially noticeable with finding the Poochie Pups, and even especially noticeable with these little souvenir hunts and stuff like that. If you manage to gather them all in one world, some of these giant flowers were able to scout it around, meaning that you actually 100% the actual world. So yeah, something's worth mentioning. And here we go with the next level in this particular world, or should I say the last level on this world, which appears to be Go-Go Yoshi. And this is where we introduce into ourselves the special kind of stages, which basically in this particular stage, as you can see right there, before you begin with the actual contraption and stuff like that, most notably with the Go-Go Robo Yoshi and stuff like that, basically, you notice on the actual, the tally amount of points you can able to reach into, that actually represents how many points you need to acquire to able to actually get yourselves, not 1, not 2, but 3 extra amounts of those, smiley flowers, depending on how much scores you're able to actually gather through. Such as, like, for instance, for example, on this stage in particular, in order to actually get yourselves, all of those smiley flowers on this particular stage, is that you need to reach up to about 9,000 points, and, that's as far as I can say about it. But if you go lower than 9,000, then you might actually get yourselves just only 1 smiley flower, and also, well, specifically 2 smiley flowers if you need to be skillful enough. However, though, I will admit though right away, it might take a little bit of practice to able to actually just to get a glimpse with this, but I will say though, it is really cool for the most part, especially noticeable how the fact that you can able to, well, apart from the fact that these kinds of levels like this are super short, and it's also really easy too. I don't know if it might be, worth noting for this point, about the fact that I don't think you can able to actually take damage, I don't think. Well, at least assuming if it's possible, as it is. And yeah, if you keep on missing some of those targets, as you can clearly see, you don't get extra amount of points. So, the best way to able to actually get yourselves the good amount of those smiley flowers at the end is that you need to do some sort of like a chain reaction in all in one punch, because that way, if you're trying to deal with all that stuff, then you would able to actually get the good amount of points. Especially noticeable, you need to jump in certain occasional moments, because that way you can able to actually just to punch that particular UFO at the top. So I don't know if it's necessary. It's usually calls a UFO per se, but it's just there for the sake of clarity. So, and sadly for me though, I was off by, I would say 215 points I was off by. Well, if only if I could able to do it well enough, if I was trying to attack those little flying sorcerers, as far as I'm aware. Let's see. Oh, wait. 215 points I was off by. So, naturally speaking, yep, I got 5 smiley flowers in total, in addition with those 2 extra smiley flowers to top it off. But sadly for me, apart from the other level that I was on about, I'm missing 4 of those, no, I'm missing 5 red coins on the previous stage, and also I'm missing 6 red coins in Go-Go Yoshi. So, but don't worry folks, I will find those, so don't worry, don't panic. So hopefully we would able to actually just to find those during time. But before we're able to jump cut for the most of these collectibles I need to find, let me go ahead and talk to this little fella right here. So either way, yeah, basically he's now going to tell us where the crown is, but then again, we'll save that for the later time. So, yeah, I'll meet you guys back with the forms of finding all these collectibles and stuff. So, hopefully I'll do that from here. And especially noticeable, I'm only just going to be selecting, you know, the normal front view. So, yeah, let's get this thing to it, shall we? Alright, so you might as well notice is that I accidentally failed on that specific smiley flower, but now hopefully I can able to do it from here. However, the biggest thing about this is that you have to be fast so that you can able to actually grab these Yoshi's eggs to return. So there it is, right here. And as far as the red coins are concerned, well, I'm missing one of them is actually over there. And also, to top it off, is that if we find this hidden cloud, then we're able to actually hit it, assuming if we're trying to aim it properly. That way we get ourselves the final 4 red coins. And that doesn't end off here, because there's actually a hidden path that actually leads us to, what else? The final smiley flower in Poochie's Rail Trail, or Tape Trail, as far as I like to say for this point. So yeah, that concludes that particular stage. And as you can see right there, I'm actually going to be replaying for this stage again on screen. Probably because I just want to show you guys how you can able to actually get, you know, 9,000 points easier. So either way, I think this will be the only time that I'm not going to do a jump cut for that point right there. Assuming if there are some other special levels that I want to point things out later on, I will show you guys the perfect run, and assuming if I don't make any simple mistakes or what have you. So anyways, there it goes right there with that specific flying object that we need to punch through. So either way, I actually don't mind about these particular stages as a result, until the last one, that it might actually give you a lot of like tested patience and stuff like that, which we'll probably mention more onto that until in the future though. But for now, let's just go ahead and just bust out those little houses, and yes, as you can see, we now finally managed to get ourselves the final 6 of those 8 coins, or you know, the red coins as far as I like to say. I almost keep on saying 8 for some reason, because I keep thinking of the next redo Let's Play that I'm pursuing. I don't know what the other guys might be able to do for the redo Let's Play of Super Mario Sunshine and stuff like that until next month, but we'll see what happens there. Assuming if the forms of something new is about to be happening during the forms of Nintendo Direct, and during at some point, probably next week, or just essentially in the next 2 weeks' time. Well, at least most people seem to really hoping for Animal Crossing: The New Horizons and stuff like that, because we've only got about almost a month away until the actual game itself is finally going to its release. For most other Animal Crossing fans out there, we should be excited about. But for me, I'm not usually a huge, massive fan per se, I have to be honest with you guys, because I've managed to able to play one of them, but never actually touched it somehow, because if only because of how the fact that, well, simulation is not my kind of thing, sadly, because I don't normally play some of those other, you know, similar, you know, it's hard to explain for me about this sometimes, but I will admit though right away for this point, guys, I really do sorry about the forms, the lack of commentary for the sake of clarity, because then again, with the lack of news, updates, or anything like that. Well, aside from what I've already mentioned at the beginning of this particular video, is the fact that at least most people seem to be very glad that the wonderful 101 is getting a remastered on the Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, and PC Steam. Sadly, no Xbox One console selling points for the wonderful 101 somehow. I have no idea why they just managed to took out the Xbox One version to begin with, but at least they did manage to announce it as a Kickstarter, which, from what I can tell, is actually doing really well. So either way, and as far as the release date, as far as I'm concerned, it's going to be releasing at some point in April in 2020. I don't know exactly what number day is it going to be, but then again though, it's a little bit too stingy when it comes to the forms of certain news updates to talk about for this point in time, folks, because I know we keep on like, you know, saying that, and I do apologize with the actual moving microphone at this point in time, because, well, you can clearly tell I'm actually sitting in the most awkward position I was going to be able to discussing on that point. So, anyways though, so let's see what we got when it comes to those costumes that we can able to utilize. Well, then again, I'm probably not going to use those too much, probably because of how the fact that I don't know if they actually do like some sort of like a similar system as in the forms of The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, with the weapon degradation and stuff like that, the one moment where you break the actual weapon super easily, but even then I've already heard of it for myself. So anyway, so we got ourselves all 10 of those costumes on that specific segment of the world, so yes, once again it's fully completed. And as a result, World 3 is pretty much done for the most part, well, apart from the fact that we need to deal with these the Poochie Pops hide and seek, as well as you know, some souvenirs hunting. So anyway, but I figure we might as well do that on the next video, because, well, let's not get into the actual next just yet though, but it now requires us 10 smiley flowers to unlock this next world, which appears to be Big Paper Peak. So either way, it's like a mountainy, some sort of like world, so yeah, it looks like this guy's gonna be able to, you know, just unscrew that specific access opening. So now we're on the Big Paper Peak, which then again, I'm probably not gonna do it just yet though, because then again, I'm actually going to be able to take a break on world exploration kind of progression at this point right now. So anyways, we'll pretty much get things off at this point right there. So join me next time on Let's Play Yoshi's Crafted World. It's the fact that we need to revisit to World 2 and World 3 so that we can able to find the rest of these Poochie Pups, and to top it off, we'll do some of those souvenir huntings once in a while. I know it's a little bit tedious in the process, but I have to do this for the sake of the forms of 100% completionist for this point. So see you guys next Tuesday. Later, fellas.